Everybody has to be noisy. Let's get this done. Unless the ATF or the law or an exemption exists through them, or an exemption did exist and was removed and then put back over and over again, revised, folded, spindle, manipulate, unless otherwise noted. In all of these ways, definitions for weapons are important, and if something falls outside of the definition, it is subject to being interpreted. And if the interpretation was done and became something that was manufactured in mass without the ATF or anybody else complaining, that definition then starts existing as a de facto definition. A firearm is anything that could contain or can contain or does contain the basic components to utilize and fire cartridge ammunition, period, full stop. If it is any other parts, and if it can't physically get away with setting off a cartridge, doesn't even have to do it properly, it could be called a firearm. It is not a firearm even if it's a 100% lower. If the lower says 100% lower for any barrel, any cartridge, any caliber, pistol, rifle, or shotgun, any handle or buttstock. If it's a blank, undeclared, unfinished gun, but it's a 100% finished lower, it's still regulated as 100% lower. That's why it's a lower. But what kind of lower? Any. Or you could say, well, what caliber is it? Yes. And that's the thing. It could have a pistol grip, it could have a buttstock, it could have neither of them and be strapped underneath another gun. That actually does exist. They make them a breech gun that you strap underneath an AR-15 and fire it. It's for blowing open the door. Contains 2 or 3 shots. It'll blow open a door, and everybody gets trained in breaching. I mean, that's literally it. And, well, that's a regulated... Well, yeah, it's basically a big-ass pistol, and they get an exemption. And yeah, it's still listed. They decided to list it as an any other weapon and or a registered short barrel shotgun or whatever, depending on the state or county or whatever. But it can be listed literally as being an undeclared device and being a firearm. It does have certain restrictions. Firearm became a new definition later on, and it's not where you think it was. A pistol or handgun, or whatever else you want to call it, has a maximum of a 50 caliber barrel unless an exemption is given or a law is made, or the ATF made a decision because they felt it was a good idea at the time, and is made, manufactured, or intended to be fired from one hand. And now that's the deal. If you can fire it from one hand, that doesn't make it a pistol. If it was designed only to be fired from one hand, fine. But again, if you can fire it two-handed, that's fine. You can hold on to a pistol with 2 hands. If it meets the traditional definition of a pistol, it's considered a pistol, and the only restrictions are it has to be below 50 caliber. All weapons are supposed to be under 50 caliber unless an exemption is given. So anything over 50 caliber can be regulated in some way. Next, rifles. At least a 16-inch rifled barrel. Has to be a rifled barrel. If it lacks a rifled barrel, it would be considered a really low caliber shotgun at that point, but you'd need to have it 18 inches long. So if you have an 18-inch barrel, whether rifled or smoothbore, and it has the rest of these things, it's legal because it's a rifle or shotgun at least 18 inches or 16 inches. So here we go with the rifle definition. And is made, manufactured, and or intended to be fired from the shoulder, not from one hand. Shotguns, same thing, only 18-inch barrel, and can be rifled or smoothbore. Rifles have to have a rifled barrel. Made, manufactured, fired from the shoulder. Unless, again, the ATF or the legal definition or an exemption exists otherwise. Any other weapons or any other AOWs are what you get out of these things. Anything is a catch-all level. Originally, the definition for any other weapon was everything other than a rifle, shotgun, or pistol. The pistols were excluded from this definition, but were also regulated. The idea here was to get rid of anything concealable. If it's less than 26 inches long, in Britain it's 2 feet. We had to be 2 inches longer. It's considered concealable or readily concealable. Now here we get with the rules about short barrel shotgun and short barrel rifle. People then decided, well, I'll make a pistol out of a rifle or shotgun by cutting the barrel down because it's already in the clear. Then they had to make a rule that says if you cut one down, it's against the rules. Well, how do you define it? If it was originally designed, intended, manufactured, or made, even if you made it, to be a shoulderable weapon. And again, they were trying to get rid of pistols originally. not they, the ATF or the government, but various people at the time. I'm putting they in a very vague statement. Now, the ATF can give an exemption. It can be over 50 caliber and be a shotgun. It could be a flare gun. Some of them are grandfathered in, that sort of thing. That's why you can have a 105 caliber pistol, because it's really only useful because there's no missing cartridge ammunition, to fire a projectile. And 1-inch bore, 25 millimeter, essentially. Again, there isn't any anti-personnel weapon grade stuff. On the other hand, one larger than that would be really impractical to fire as a weapon can be a shoulderable weapon, because it technically fires a tear gas canister with a projectile. Anything up from 50 caliber up to what would be at that point 1 inch had to be in the regulated category, because it was technically capable of firing a lethal round, and you could shoulder it and take the recoil. Basically, if something's so overdriven that you couldn't really practically fire it sustainably or safely, they didn't feel the need to regulate it. And again, the idea here is there were 12 gauge shotguns running around, and again, it's a smoothbore item. You can have rifle or smoothbore for a shotgun. It doesn't matter. They don't care. But the rifled barrel has to be at least 16 inches long, and it had to be a rifle with a buttstock. What if you made a long barrel pistol? Now we get to the point where people were then making pistols with long enough barrels so that they would not be listed as being concealable. We can put a 16-inch barrel on it. You hear the silence? Yeah, you complied with the law. You're just making a pistol grip, rifle, or shotgun, or pistol. It doesn't matter. It's long enough. If it's a pistol, again, originally, someone was trying to get rid of pistols. So, if any gun was made, manufactured, or intended to come with a stock and a barrel that was considered shorter than 16 inches, it was a short barrel shotgun. Or a short barrel rifle if it was under 16 inches, and short barrel shotgun if it was under 18 inches. If you kept it over that length, it's not short barrel anything, it's not restricted. Any gun. But, and that's $200 tax back. But, if you did that, it had to be over 26 inches long. So you go from being a short barreled weapon to a long barreled weapon. You'd have to have like a 26 inch long barrel or something and a pistol grip, which is where I go with this channel. But can you do something else? And here we go. If it's a shotgun, it must be 18 inches for the barrel, unless the ATF or law exemption exists. And that's where you get flare guns and weird things. I'm going to include a couple of weird things. What if it's 26 inches overall length? No exemption needed. Doesn't have a buttstock. Doesn't even have a trigger. Remember the length of pull rule about it's not considered a pistol if it's over 13 inches to what looks like a buttstock? Okay, what if it doesn't have a fucking trigger? Well, then what is it? It's called a bang stick. How short is the barrel on a bang stick? 0. A bang stick doesn't have a barrel. Well, yes, it does. It has the chamber, but the chamber is considered part of the barrel length, so you have a 3 or 4 inch barreled shotgun. All you do is take a perimeter alarm, which is also excluded from the rules entirely, to trigger it, and put a really long handle on it that is not a buttstock. It can be a pistol grip at the end if you like. There, now I can have my ultra short barrel shotgun by using a 26 inch long broom handle with a firing pin on the end of it and literally a hunk of tubing to hold the shell in. And I can test short barrel shotguns legally. The barrel length doesn't matter, it's the length of the thing overall. Again, it's like the pistol thing. You can have the pistol have a trigger anywhere along the 26 inch length, less than 13 inches back to the butt. If it's more, it's considered a shotgun or a rifle or pistol. Okay, but what if you do this? You bullpup the entire shotgun barrel and you put the trigger way out here. You have a shoulderable 26 inch overall, well, it's still not concealable. What if you want a short barrel? You just put the short barrel at the end and don't have a trigger on it. Again, concealability. If it's over 26 inches long overall length, they're not going to care about most of these things. Next, if a gun was made, manufactured, intended to have a pistol grip and is less than 26 inches overall, that's an AOW, $5. Tax. Unless there exists an exemption that they created after the fact, instead of the any other weapon was also a $200 tax. It changed to $5 because of these obvious weird things, including flare gun-like items with really long buttstocks that weren't a buttstock. It was a handle extension with the trigger. Yeah, that was actually done. The idea was to get the flare gun way away from you, to fire it through a room. It's for incendiary work, for backburning it's for backburning something. Let's just get on with it. If it was a pistol grip item, and it's less than 26 inches long, and it's been given an exemption as a pistol, or it doesn't need it because it's below 50 caliber, and it is rifled, it's considered a pistol. If it's smoothbore, it can't be, unless it's made on purpose longer, in which case it's a pistol grip shotgun that's using 22 caliber pew-pews. So now we do the flow chart. You start with any gun receiver, doesn't matter, as a lower that has never had a stock attached and is incomplete but technically can be a fireable weapon. It may be a firearm. If it's not fireable, it can't be called a firearm. Yes, you can make this mechanism that's this big. It's really small if you want to. Even if you could just stick a shotgun shell into it and then turn a thingy to hold the back end of the thing, if it doesn't have a barrel over the cartridge, that clamp can't count as part of the barrel. If it has no barrel attached, and it has no buttstock or handle, and especially if you don't include a conventional trigger, it has no length of pull, and it can be considered a FITH, F'd in the head, OPS, perimeter alarm, which has a trigger mechanism and a mechanism for holding onto a shotgun shell. It just doesn't have a barrel. And until you put a barrel over it, or a piece of tubing, or stick it into a fence pipe. Don't stick it into a pipe on the fence. Now look that up. Don't stick it into a fence post. That legally makes it a barrel. Even if it doesn't do anything other than just keep it from doing anything bad, you have made a gun. But at that moment, you made a shotgun. If it's 26 inches overall length and the barrel's more than 18 inches, it's legal. It doesn't matter if it's going to blow up in your face, if it's plastic or whatever. It doesn't matter if it's also a flare gun. To make a street legal flare gun, you buy the perimeter alarm from 5th Ops and stick a pipe over it and then take the pipe off, and it's just considered two components. It's not considered a lower. It's not considered a firearm, even though it technically can fire, because it doesn't have a barrel. It's considered a receiver, a blank receiver, and because they didn't include the rest of the components, it can take any caliber. You just put a different washer in there to hold the cartridge in. Yeah, you can make it fire 22 all the way up to 12 gauge. Hell, I could make it to where if you saw off the ass end of it, you can make it to where it runs anything. If it's not able to be fired from the shoulder, it can't be called a shotgun or rifle. If the ATF declares that you now have a non-NFA firearm, it doesn't have any legal restrictions, and it's disqualified from being in any other weapon if it's longer than a certain length. If it's not intended or in the first place to be fired from the shoulder and has a pistol grip, it's a pistol grip only firearm. They created this methodology for defining it. Next, if you add any barrel, so it's a pistol-like device, and it has an overall length below 26 inches, if it fits the definition what's allowed for a pistol or any exemption, flare gun, it's okay. If it's over that length, they don't have anything to say about it because at that point it's not concealable, and it's just called the NFA, non-AOW, or NFA firearm, pistol grip only firearm. Next, if you add a buttstock over 13 inches, and or a rifle barrel less than 16 inches at the same time to your handgun, you're breaking the law. If you attach a buttstock to a short-barreled rifle or shotgun type of design that was legal, it becomes an unregistered short-barreled rifle or shotgun, depending on the combination. If the end result is something that's legally regulated, you're bad. If you dismantle it entirely and then only reassemble it, preferably with the barrel and chamber declared first, and then put on the appropriate buttstock or grip, it's okay. But you have to do this mumbo-jumbo ritual. The rules do not require rifling for a lot of this stuff, so you can have it be a shotgun or rifle or pistol. 26 inches long. Up to 50 caliber, it can be a pistol. Above that, it has to be a shotgun. Check your state and local laws, and remember, muzzleloader physical designs don't have any of these rules applied because they're not called firearms because they can't take cartridges. And if you're looking up the form 4473, that's just if you're buying it from, that's the form that the seller has to do. You making and owning one of these doesn't require any forms. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Check your local laws. I'm not a lawyer. Disclaimer ad nauseum cacciatorium.